Society should reflect the truth that all people have dignity, that we are made for each other, that everyone should have the opportunity to reach his or her fulfillment, and that we are one human family. So, what are we doing this election to make that vision a reality? Hi, everybody. Matt Brower with the Montana Catholic Conference. Last week, we discussed Catholic social teaching and the dignity of the human person as that central pillar of the Church's social doctrine. Today, we're going to look at the other three permanent principles of Catholic social teaching. And I think those principles all in some way relate back to that central principle of human dignity. Now, taken together, these principles provide us the moral framework for assessing the policies supported by candidates and the extent to which those policies will help to build a just and moral society. In other words, applying these principles should help us as we discern how to vote. Now, some Catholics have heard of subsidiarity, but many of us don't really know what it is. Subsidiarity really is the principle that says that higher groups should not undermine smaller, more local groups. So, for example, the federal government or state government should not subvert the role of the family, taking for itself those things that can and should be properly accomplished within the family. It's the principle that reflects the truth that we are social by nature. That's how we are made. We are made for each other. We are made for relationships. And it's in those relationships that full human development takes place. Now, this is true not exclusively, but first and foremost in the family. The family, based on the marriage of one man and one woman, is the fundamental unit of society. Our policies and programs must reflect respect for the family, defending and strengthening it. But subsidiarity is about far more than simply local control. While larger institutions should not overwhelm or interfere with smaller groups, the Church recognizes that these larger groups play an essential role in assisting smaller groups and addressing needs or issues that smaller groups can't adequately address, in order that human dignity will be protected and the common good promoted. Now, speaking of the common good, this is another often cited but misunderstood principle. It doesn't, for example, mean the greatest good for the greatest number of people. By the common good, the Church means the social conditions which will allow people to reach their fulfillment. This means certainly that fundamental right to life, but it also means a right to those other things that are required for humans to flourish. So food, housing, education, healthcare, employment, freedom of religion. These things are necessities, and they're things to which we all have a right. Now, this principle reminds us, among other things, that the economy is to serve people, not the other way around. That there is dignity in work, and that work isn't simply a way to earn a living, but a continuing participation in God's creation. That we have a duty to care for all of God's creation, what Pope Francis has referred to as our common home. And that these rights, which all people have, come with corresponding responsibilities to act in a way that upholds the dignity of all, reflecting the truth that we are bound to each other as partners in seeking goodness and truth. Now, the principle of solidarity is that principle that recognizes that we are one human family, that our love of neighbor binds us together. Embracing this principle means that we recognize we are our brothers and sisters' keepers. Loving our neighbor, standing in solidarity, means we work to help that expectant mother in need, that we strive to eradicate racism, that we welcome the stranger by helping to ensure that immigrants and refugees have the opportunity for those things needed to lead a decent life, and that we commit to promoting peace and justice in response to the violence that is so prevalent in our country and around the world. Solidarity demands that we demonstrate particular concern for the weakest, the most vulnerable, those who are forgotten, those without a voice, the unborn, the elderly, the poor. The Church reminds us that the basic moral test of any society is how it treats its most vulnerable. And in case we are tempted to think of this as some secondary concern for the church, not central to its mission and work, listen to the words of Pope Benedict XVI, who said, "Love for widows and orphans, prisoners, and the sick and needy of every kind is as essential to the church as the ministry of the sacraments and preaching of the gospel." So as we approach this upcoming election, let's recognize the great gift the church has given us in its social teaching and embrace that framework as we seek to vote in a way that honors God. Now, just a reminder, I'd like to answer questions viewers might have. I'd like to answer those in an upcoming episode, so feel free to email those to me. My email address is here on the screen. I'll keep those anonymous if you'd like, but they can be about voting, Catholic social teaching, faithful citizenship, whatever question you might have. I want to thank you again for watching the video today, and I hope you'll join me next time.